Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be going over my entire history of FLL, looking at all the mission boards, and just talking about each mission individually, how we did it, if we did it, why we didn't do it, if we didn't do it, and it's just going to be a blast from the past for me, rather nostalgic. And for all you rookie teams, you have no idea what's coming. This first mission was pretty easy. All you had to do was pick this up and bring it into home. My team didn't even do that. This one was a bit harder because you had to turn this finicky little knob, and that was hard. But you got 25 points if you did it, which was pretty good.
The pump addition so it has contact with the mat, and that contact is
all you had to do was push it, so it was pretty easy.
Make at least one rain come out of the rain cloud.
This one was fun because if you rammed into it hard enough, they'd all come out.
Filter north until the lock latch drops.
This was the one my team accomplished.
Make the water treatment model eject its big water.
The way this one worked was awesome.
The toilet's lever. Make the
I solved this one after the season was done. I mean, at least I got it.
Only to a big water in the gray tub. Flip manhole covers
this one,
over, obviously
it's really hard to do because they're really thin and it's hard to get something underneath to flip it. But if you did,
as described previously,
you'd get 30 points.
I mean, completely in separate tripod targets. Move the inspection camera tripod so it is, for partial score, partly in either tripod target, with all of its feet touching the mat.
That was hard because these things like falling over.
In either tripod target,
but I mean, it gave you some points.
Touching the mat. Install the optional loop first in base if you wish. Move a new pipe
this was
so
pretty easy if you did it because you could just drop it in.
Contact with the mat.
And I mean, it gave you quite a bit of points.
Install the optional loop first in base if you wish. Move a new pipe so it is, for partial score, partly in its target, in full flat contact with the mat.
And if you wanted to get the full points, you'd had to fit it in that tiny little rectangle. And that was really hard to do when it's that big and the rectangle doesn't have much extra space.
So it is touching the visible wood of any of the 6 drawn garden boxes.
That one was pretty easy, only if you knocked it over, didn't work.
And stay there.
This was a lot like the fountain, only, and it gave you more points. But that was probably the hardest part of any mission in this entire season, because it would fall out so easily.
Move the water well so it has contact with the mat.
This was easy because you just had to push it. It was a lot like some of the missions from later seasons. And, I mean, it gave you 25 points. That's a lot.
Make the fire drop only by making the fire truck apply direct force to the house's lever.
Yeah, our team tried that, but we couldn't push it hard enough.
Big water and/or rainwater, 1 rain maximum, no dirty water, so it is touching the mat in the water target, without the target ever reaching the white off-limits line.
Yep, that was,
water
I mean,
may be touching the
you had to just drop stuff.
Or other water, but not be touching nor guided by anything else. Each water model is scored as an individual. For bonus, score
this was pretty easy because you could click them together in base and have an attachment that would place them down perfectly.
Which is touching nothing but other water. Maximum, only 1 bonus can score. Move the slingshot so it is completely in its target.
This was a fun mission because you got to hit the top and it would spit out 2 water. If you want to watch a great documentary about Gene Kamen, it's also called Slingshot, and it's about what this mission is based on. Highly suggested.
Make the water level obviously more blue than white as seen from above the cup.
This one was pretty hard because you had to turn that little thing.
Penalties.
Yes, this was before you got those freebie points, people. You got penalties instead of free points. If you picked up your robot, you would get points taken away. And my team was so great that we didn't get a positive score for our first 3 runs. Yes, because I was on a team in Illinois, and there you have 4 runs instead of 3. So it was my second season was into orbit. This one was fun. This mission was huge.
Payload rockets rolling down the space travel ramp.
And we had an interesting way of doing this. Rather than just having a lever go up, we had this little spinny thing that would spin like 20 times, and it was guaranteed to get it to work every time. It was awesome.
Payload clearly rolling down the space travel ramp. For each roll, the cart must be independent by the time it reaches the first track connection.
And I mean, it got you some decent points. This season there were fewer points per mission, but It was still a great year.
Solar panels need to be
Oh,
angled toward
this
or away
mission
from
we
you,
solved by having a
depending on
gigantic
strategy and
battering ram
conditions.
on the front of our robot. And one of our team members has a grudge against a certain ref because it didn't work properly. And the ref was
The
pushing on
robot
it,
needs
and
to get a regolith
later,
core
different story.
sample and place it into the 3D
Our team
printer,
didn't solve
which
it
will
this year,
cause the 2x4
mostly
bricks
because
to pop
it was
out.
kind of hard,
The ejected 2x4
and the
brick
2x4
can then
brick
be
could get
delivered elsewhere for more
anywhere and get
points.
under the robot's wheels, and not what you want. Oh, Crater Crossing! This mission was great. Our team had to
The
find
robot
like
or whatever
20
agent
different
Craft
kinds of
sends
wheels
out needs to cross
because
the crater's model
this
completely.
mission was not
driving
easy to have a
directly
robot drive
over it.
across.
Not near it,
But
not around it.
It was fun. In the end, we had giant motorcycle tires with treads before the Spike Prime came out, so we had to buy them off of eBay. This one was pretty easy. All you had to do was get
The
something
robot
to
needs
slide
to get
all these
the
pieces
core
out.
samples out of the core site model. Then it has options for what to do with them, as described
Oh, these were
here
fun.
and in Mission 3.
We didn't get any of these done, unfortunately, but they were very interesting models. Okay, this was a cool
The
mission
robot
because
needs to
you could
remove and
take
insert
pieces
modules
out and
among the habitation hub's
put different
portholes.
pieces in. It was one of the cooler missions because they could all slide out and stick in. It required a lot of precision on the part of your robot, and that's something our robot didn't have. Gerhard, yes, this
Help our spacewalking astronaut Gerhard get
this
to
is actually
safety.
my nickname
The
in
robot needs
FLL
to get the
because
astronaut's body into the
he sort of
airlock
looks like
chamber.
me, and I panic often, and he's a cool little dude. What can I say? This was a very interesting mission because you had to push these
The
things.
robot needs to repeatedly move one or both of the exercise machine's handle assemblies.
In
to make the
reality, you
pointer
could just
advance.
slide the pointer all the way to the orange without having to do the fancy stuff. It was a much easier way to do it. We never solved this mission, but after the season was done, we disassembled it
robot
and
needs to
used the
lift the
gear
strength
rack
above the
thingy
scoring
to
height.
use it to solve a different mission that I will talk about later. The attachment was called the Shoink. Don't ask why, because I don't know. I may have named it. This was a fun mission because it required
Move the push bar
very
the right
accurate
distance at the
driving
right
skills.
speed to get
So-
into the green scoring range.
You just pushed a lever and it would spin a thing. This was fun because you got to slam something, and
The robot needs
our
to
team just
impact
had
the
this
strike
gigantic
path hard enough
hammer
to keep the
with a
spacecraft from
big
dropping
tire on
back
the end
down.
that blasted the lever, and the spaceship always went all the way to the top, unless we missed, and then it would just smack the board really hard. These were fun.
The
They-
robot
we
needs
had
to move
we had
one
this
or more satellites
spinning
to
wheel
the outer
thingy that
orbit.
it was a slick attachment, and it worked well for what we needed to do. It had two prongs on the end. It's hard to describe, but it worked well. This was a simple mission. All you had to do was push.
Rotate the observatory
We
to a
rotated all the way to
precise
the orange
direction.
thing, and it was easy, but it got you some good points. And orange was really small, but we went for just white because if you went outside, you would get 0 points, and white is safer. This was the hardest mission,
From west
no
of the
questions
tree line,
asked.
send
You
one
will
or both
it's
meteoroids
hard.
independently to the Meteoroid catcher. If ever the ring set Meteoroid is
Our
off
robot
its
never
ring,
did
you
it.
may
We
remove
had
the
team
ring
members
from the
trying it
field
for
by hand.
weeks, and we
This is
only
a
ever
special
had one
exception to the
succeed, and we never did that. This one was hard too because the lander was
Get the
very
lander
very
to
fragile.
one of its targets intact, or at least get it to base. The lander is intact if its parts are connected by at least 2 of its 4 tan location axles.
Yeah, it didn't stay intact after the fall. But if you brought it to base, you could reassemble it and put it back out. So, yep, you didn't have
First,
freebie
LEGO
points
League
in this
mission
round, in this
requirements need to be
year
achieved
either,
by
so
your robot through its
it was
programs
much more
and its
challenging, and you
use
could
of
still get
equipment.
negative points, which
You're
was
allowed
not
to hand rescue
fun.
your robot, but
But we
does
never
cause
did. This year, our robot
penalty.
was much more
Be
successful.
sure to pay extra attention
I
to the
moved
rules
to a
where
new
they talk
team,
about
and
interruptions.
I was on that
If you
team for
interrupt the robot, you will
4
lose
years,
3
and
points
all of
each
them
time.
were very fun.
Upon penalty, the referee will place 1 penalty disc in the southeast triangle as a permanent interruption marker. You
Don't
can
screw
get
up.
up to 6.
This is the only
History
video
has
I
always
recorded
showed
all
us a
of
path
because
forward. From a
the
long
project that
time
year was
ago
really
to the
cool because
present
we had a
day,
team that actually
our
went to the
world
Global
has seen
Innovation
thousands
Awards
of
when it was
cities
still the
grow,
project.
thrive,
I'm kind of
and
sad that it's
change over
changing,
time.
but also
While
the music's cool
civilization has
and
given us a
Star
blueprint
Wars.
for how we construct our cities and our environment, it is up to us to forge our own destinies. In Star Wars, there's a belief that
Star
even
Wars
one
sponsored it
person's
this year, and that
actions
was really
can
cool.
make a significant difference to the entire galaxy. Now it's your turn to shape our growing first city for the better. Let's explore the evolution of cities past and see what we can learn from them. As First City booms and faces challenges for its
I make
future
better stop
existence,
motion.
your mission is to be a force for change and create solutions to help transportation, the environment, and new buildings to make our home last for over 1,000 generations. Together,
We rise. It's a cool motto, I guess.
The 2019-2020 First LEGO League season will explore how architects combine science and art to make buildings and structures for their clients. Sometimes they make new
project.
buildings, and sometimes they redesign old ones.
The really fun part
They
about
work
this
as
year
part of a
was
larger
that
team,
the
just
project
like
was
yours.
so open-ended.
Structural,
If it had
civil,
anything
and
to do
environmental
with
engineers
cities at all,
make sure
or
a project
houses, or
suits its
anything
site.
really, you could do it.
Construction workers
This year,
like electricians, plumbers,
90%
and
of the
carpenters
projects
and project
at the first
managers
level
make
were
sure the
parks,
job stays
which
on time
is
and
probably
within
one of the
budget.
reasons our team
Every
got
role
the
is
Global
important
Innovation
to get
Award
the job done.
nomination, because
Together, these teams
we
apply
had a
the same
very unique
design
project that
principles
year compared to
a Roman
everything
named
else.
Vitruvius created thousands of years
It
ago.
had almost nothing to do with the buildings
Buildings should be
themselves,
strong,
but
useful, and beautiful.
cool stuff.
Our cities and towns
It's a cool
face
picture.
big issues like transportation, accessibility, and even natural disasters. How can we shape a better future for everyone? It will take teamwork, imagination, and those Vitruvian principles. What solutions can we create now to help shape an optimal future? How can we use our environment and modern-day tools and technology to build First City
drone.
to last? A building needs a strong foundation. In all FIRST programs, our foundation is built on our core values: discovery, innovation, impact, teamwork, inclusion, and fun. The core values should be a part of
Actually,
your first
the
LEGO
year before,
League
Into
experience.
Orbit, there were 8 core
Use them
values.
throughout the
They just
season.
took out inspiration and respect,
Your
because
innovation
respect
project
is mostly
is one
covered by
component
gracious
of the first
professionalism, and
LEGO League
inspiration can be
challenge.
under impact.
This season, you and your team will identify a problem with a building or public space in your community. Not sure where to start? The robot game field has many examples of real-world problems. Explore the real-world problem behind the mission and use it to jumpstart your work. Or pick a problem of your own to explore. Next, design a solution with your team. You may want to research how others have tried to solve this problem. You may improve a solution that already exists or find a brand new approach. Next, be
FS
sure to share
Ingenium,
your solution
the
with
team I was
others.
on
Helpful feedback can make a good
last
solution
year,
even
but
better.
not the year
So be
before
sure
this.
to ask
We went to
for
Razorback
ideas
with
to
them.
improve. If you
Unfortunately,
plan
that was
to
their last
attend an
year.
event,
Let me tell you,
you
they
will
are
also need to
legends
prepare
in
a
all
presentation.
areas. They
Your
won global
presentation
innovation
should
during
be 5 minutes
Hydrodynamics.
long.
They are
Be
just,
sure to
they're-
include
that's them
the
again.
problem you
They're a
identified,
cool team.
what steps you
They're
took
from
to
Spain.
research it,
Their
and
robot
how
is
you
at,
came
their
up with
robot
the
last year
solution you
was
designed.
crazy.
Also, make sure to tell who you shared your ideas with and how you refined your solution along the way.
Okay, the meat.
The object of the City Shaper robot game is to shape your growing city with more stable, beautiful, useful, accessible, and sustainable buildings and structures. Solve the real-world problems represented in the missions to score points. As a team, identify the missions you want to solve. Design, build, and program a Lego robot to
That's Sharon
complete
Tiger
the
Tech.
missions.
They were at Razorback
Use
too.
EV3.
They're
Test
cool
and
too.
refine your program and design.
That picture's still
Your
on the first
robot will
website.
have to navigate, capture, transport, activate, or deliver objects. You and your robot will only have 2.5 minutes to complete as many missions as possible. So be creative.
The missions. It's
Now,
a drone again.
let's take a tour of the missions. Elevated places.
This one was crazy
If the
because it was a
robot
bridge
is
from one
supported
field to
by
the
the
other. You
bridge-
couldn't drive onto the other team's field, but I mean,
If one
there
or
were
more
there were some
flags are
crazy
clearly
fights at the
raised
top,
any
and
distance
more than one
only by
robot
the robot.
fell off.
Crane. If
This
the
mission
hooked
was fun
blue
and nice and
unit
easy.
is
This was the one they
clearly
gave you
lowered
the
any distance from the guide
guided
hall,
mission to do. We
supported by
we still
another
have that
blue
mission
unit.
fully intact.
And level 1 is completely in the blue circle.
That was really hard, and like nobody did it.
Inspection drone.
Yeah.
If the inspection
This
drone
was
is
fairly
supported
easy.
by
I mean,
axle
we
on
never
the
did it,
bridge,
but it was still fairly easy.
Designed for wildlife.
It's a bat.
If the bat is supported by branch on the tree.
That was an easy mission.
Treehouse.
This one, you could get
In
some
this
crazy
mission,
high
score
scores with
all
this
that
one.
apply. If a unit is supported by the tree's large branches,
10 points.
if a unit is supported by the tree's small branches. Traffic jam.
We had a mission.
If
We had
the
an
traffic
attachment
jam
called
is
Wheelinator
lifted.
for this one, and it was 2 prongs on a giant wheel, and we would just spin until
Swing.
it went up.
If
And
the
into orbit,
swing
we had a
is
battering
released,
ram we used for solar panels, and we reused it here to basically blast the lady in the
Elevator.
wheelchair off the
if
ledge.
the elevator's moving
And we
parts
used
are
that
as
same
follows.
battering ram here too
Blue car
to
down.
flip it, and it worked well. It was a great.
Balance.
It was a great attachment. Nobody balanced it except
Safety
us,
factor.
but then
If
it
the
fell
test
down. And it was
building
sad.
is supported only by
This
the
was
blue
where we used the
beams, and
attachment
some
Shoink
beams
that
have
I
been
told you about
knocked out
earlier,
at least
and
halfway.
we knocked out I think 2 of them, but if you
Steel
knock down more,
construction.
things get
If
crazy.
the steel structure is standing,
This mission was really hard because it was crazy wobbly and
innovative architecture.
it was just a rough
In
mission.
this
No,
mission,
we didn't do
you
it.
can only score on one option. If a designed and built structure
Our innovation
made of
model
white
was a
Lego
mouse.
bricks,
Don't ask why.
clearly bigger in size than a blue building unit is, completely
Yeah, they've
in
made
any
it.
circle,
They've made the rules a bit more flexible this year. These past
partly
years.
in any circle. Design and build by location. If there are any circles with at least one color
Yeah,
matching
you could get
unit
some-
completely in and flat down on the map.
Rather than having big towers, we used
Please
something
note,
called the
the
urban
blue circle
sprawl.
is not
And
part of Mission 12.
darn. But
by height.
if you
there
just
are
had
independent stacks
them
at least
spread out
partly in
2
any
layers
circles,
high, it was
add
worth
all of
way
their
more points
heights
than an
together.
actual tall
Please
building.
Note, a stack is one or more building units with level 1 touching flat down on the mat and any higher levels touching flat down on the level below. Sustainability upgrades.
Yeah.
Upgrades are the solar panels, roof garden, and insulation. If an upgrade is supported on a stack which is at least partly in any circle,
Yeah.
please note,
Those are pretty cool.
only one upgrade will count per stack.
So we delivered 3
Precision.
different stacks.
Precision tokens
This
left
was the
on
first
field
time you
can
got those
result in
freebie
extra
points, and it was a good idea because then we didn't see teams with negative scores, and getting a negative score is kind of sad.
Mission 1, Innovation Project.
Okay, so this year
During this mission, you will use the white brick model that you have
innovation
made.
model
It
could be a
represents
bit
the
bigger,
solution
but
to your innovation
it was
project.
also more limited where it could go.
The
You
robot
couldn't
moves
put
your
it
white
just in
brick
any
model
random
into the
circle.
replay logo,
You know.
or to the gray area around the bench.
Oh yeah, step counter.
Mission
This mission
2,
was
step
awesome
counter.
because if you pushed it hard enough, it would just lock up, and
The
that was
robot
so
slides the
smart
step counter
because your
slow
robot
and
had to either
steady.
take it gently,
The further it
or
moves,
I had a
the
friend who
more
figured
points
out that
that
if
are
you just
scored.
rammed it hard enough, repeatedly, just go, then it would go, and you'd be fine.
Mission 3, Slide.
Yep.
The robot slides the people
We had a
off
sort
the
of big
slide.
net thing, I guess, that
And
went
moves them
over
to
it.
other
It was more of a
areas,
frame, and it would
completely
slide
in
over
foam
the top of the
or
slide
on the
and
heavy
knock
tire.
both of them off at once. It was a cool attachment. With the
Mission
bench,
4,
we just had sort of
bench.
a hammer hand thingy, and it
The
would just
robot flattens
slam
the
down on
bench,
it and it would knock it down. It
removes
was
the
nice,
backrest,
and it worked well. It didn't remove the backrest very well, but if we just knocked it off, it would work.
And gets cubes into the hopscotch spaces.
We did not do that because those are small spaces for small cubes, and precision with those things is hard.
Mission 5, basketball.
With the basketball hoop,
The
we never
robot
did
gets
it
a
because
cube into the crate and raises the crate up
getting
the
a cube into the
basketball
crate was
post.
hard, and
middle height?
we could only ever get it to the middle height because the tall was just too hard. And one disadvantage with the tall height was
Or to the
it could
top
go all the way off, and that was not what we wanted at all, because then you wouldn't get any points, and that would be a waste of a cube.
Mission 6, pull-up bar. The robot passes completely under the bar in either direction.
Nobody didn't
Then
do
later
that.
comes back
'cause it
and
was
lifts
so
itself
easy.
off the mat at the end of the match.
That was hard, because robots are not good at doing pull-ups, but
Mission 7, robot dance.
and if you didn't do the pull-up, you could do this, and this was fun.
If the robot is dancing on the dance floor at the end of the match,
Dancing was any repeatable motion, so our robot just span in a circle, and that was it. Spun?
Mission 8,
Spin? I don't know.
Gotcha. If both share models have sent only one cube anywhere into the opposing field, then those cubes color match each other. If there
That took
are
a lot
any
of
colored
coordination.
cubes in your frame or target,
We just had this gigantic dump attachment that would dump a ton of cubes in. And if we were lucky,
if
we'd
there's
get a
at least
yellow in the
one
middle.
yellow cube
Actually, it wasn't
completely
really
in your
luck. We had to load it a certain way. And if we loaded it that way, then it would work well. And we'd get a lot of points.
Mission 9, tire flip.
This one was
The
tricky
robot
because
flips
flipping a
tires
tire
right
is
side up.
not
The
easy
heavy black tread
when you're
tire
just a robot.
and the
I mean,
light blue tread tire.
you only have one axis of motion. It's hard to grab it and flip it. I mean, it gave you decent
If
points.
the heavy tire crosses the red flip line at any time, it scores 0.
Unless you did that, and then it did not
The
give you
robot
decent
moves
points.
the tires into the large target circle.
So, gave you good points. And you could put a slide guy in the black tire once it was flipped over. That was nice.
Mission 10, cell phone.
What a lot of teams did is they would drag it into
The
home,
robot
and
flips
then
the
they would
cell
flip
phone
it in
right
home,
side up.
and that counts as flipped. So it was a lot easier than having to flip it there, which is a lot harder.
Mission 11, treadmill.
With this one, our robot didn't drive onto it at all.
robot
Rather,
spins
we
the
had this
rollers
attachment
to
called
move
the
the
Wheel of
pointer
Fortune,
clockwise.
and it was just a
The
wheel
further it
attached to our
moves, the
medium
more
motor.
points scored.
We'd drive up, start spinning
Gray,
it,
red,
drive back,
orange, yellow,
and it
light
got
green, or dark green.
it scored to dark green really fast, which was very nice.
Mission 12, row machine. The robot moves the free wheel out of the
I just like
large
the
circle
string on this one because
and into its
it was
smaller
cool the
target
way it
circle.
sort of pulleyed up the thing. It was a neat attachment, and unless it fell back down, and then that was kind of depressing.
Mission 13, weight machine.
This one's difficult when you're. Honestly,
For the match,
it's
set
hardest
the
when
weight
you do it.
machine to the color you want. Blue, magenta, or yellow.
It's hardest to do it on blue because
During the match, the
your
robot
has
forces
to.
the large lever
Your robot
down
has to have
until
such a
the little yellow
tall
star
arm
falls
to get
score
blue.
points.
If anything, yellow's the
Blue,
easiest because it's so much
magenta,
lower.
Or yellow.
It does take more strain on your motor, but unless you're using a Spike Prime, it'll be fine.
Mission 14, health units. The robot collects health units from around the field.
Also,
then moves
they
them to target
they
areas,
gave health units with the
touching the
Cargo
replay
Connect
logo,
logo to teams.
touching the gray area around the bench.
Oh, wait, no, they didn't. Never mind.
Or looped over the
That's-
pull-up bar post.
Unrelated.
Mission 15, precision. If you
Yeah,
interrupt your robot,
freebie
you will lose a
points.
precision token. Precision tokens left on the field can result in extra points.
These were exactly the same as they were last year. Okay, so our next season is Cargo Connect, and the more observant of you may notice that
This is the Cargo
is
Connect
exactly the same
competition
music as we had for
There
replay.
are 16 missions, which
So,
can be done in any order.
I mean,
You do not have
I
to
mean, it fits
complete
the
all
theme, but
missions.
it
Just
gets
try as
old.
many as you can in each 2.5-minute robot match. Only
Yeah,
the
same
score
old, same
from your
old, same
best
old, same
match will be counted. Your robot must start completely inside this launch area, and you should program it to return to this home area.
The board for this year
You
was
can handle and modify
the
your
missions were
robot
different,
between
but
runs while it's in the home
otherwise
area.
it was exactly the same as replay. Same
Gracious
field setup and
professionalism
everything.
is how we express our core values in First LEGO League. The robot game is an important place to observe gracious professionalism, and the referees will evaluate this for each team at each robot match.
It's kind of cool that they added this because, I mean,
Your
if you're on the
robot
field and you have
and all its equipment
completely throw a fit,
must
it's
fit
not
into
good.
one of the inspection areas.
Yep.
If it is small enough to fit into this small inspection area, you will
20
score
points.
the bonus points. Mission 1. Innovation Project Model.
This
In
year,
this mission,
you could only put
will
it. This
use
was the first year you
innovation
could only
project
put it in
model
one
you have
area,
made
but it was still
that
really easy.
represents the solution to your innovation project. If your innovation project model has any part touching the Cargo Connect circle,
This year, this season,
Mission 2.
this season, our
Unused
innovation model
capacity.
just held everything.
fill the container with its content.
It was just a holder.
While the hinged container is in home, a team member can fill it with the contents.
This was a first. I mean, in
If the
Hydrodynamics,
container
you had
is
the
closed
optional loop,
and partly
but
full of contents.
this was the first season you could really have a team member doing something while they're not handling
If
the
the
robot.
container is closed and completely full of contents.
Freebie points, what can I say?
Mission 3. Unload cargo plane.
One of the team
Unload
moms
the
this
cargo
season said
plane
it looked like a
and send the
fat bird
container
sitting in the
on
corner.
its journey.
And honestly, it kind of did.
If the
But-
cargo door is lowered and rests completely down, touching its black frame, and the container
The awesome
is
part about
completely
this
separate
thing
from the plane,
was that the container almost always was partially in that circle. But normally we just grabbed
Mission
it and
4.
brought it home so we could put it somewhere else.
Transportation journey. The airplane and truck must reach their destinations. If the airplane is completely past its blue end line on the mat. If the truck is completely past its blue end line on the mat.
Yeah, that mission was fun because you could just drag them
A bonus
out.
is
You didn't
scored
have
when
to
both
hit the
tests
launcher
are
thing.
completed. Mission 5. Switch engine.
Ah, yes.
Switch your engine from diesel to electric. The engine is switched so that the yellow bar is resting all the way down to the south.
Yeah, that was a pretty easy mission. I mean, you just had to have something that could flip the lever.
Mission 6.
Oh,
Accident
yes, accident
avoidance.
avoidance.
Park safely without causing an accident.
The way we
At
did
the
this
end of
one,
the match, if the robot
we
is
had our
parked over
robot
the blue
driving at a
accident
crazy
avoidance
angle to the
line,
wall, and it had this attachment.
and only the
that
yellow
angle
panel is knocked down.
would cause the robot to turn
if the
into the
robot
wall,
goes
and it
too
would
far
just
and the black
barely
frame
touch the
is knocked
base.
down.
And like 30% of the time would knock over the
Mission
yellow
7.
panel. Not very
Unload cargo
reliable,
ship.
but
Unload the container from the cargo ship. If the
This was
lime
a cool
green
mission.
container is no longer touching the ship's deck, move the lime green
It
container
was a pretty
so that
easy
it is
to
completely
score a
east
lot
of
of
the
points.
cargo ship's east
only
deck.
if you pushed it all the way out, that wasn't good. But that was pretty hard to do.
Mission 8. Airdrop. Release the food package from the helicopter onto the other field.
No, my
If
favorite
the other
part
team
about
releases
this
the food
is
package
that
onto your
they
field,
show
deliver it to the Cargo
Spike
Connect
Prime
circle.
and EV3 working together in this video. So they've got
If
the
the
Spike
food
Prime
package
working
is
here,
separated from your helicopter,
and we had this giant
if
box
the food
sitting in our
package
home,
that came from
so
the
that it
other
would catch the
field's
box.
helicopter is completely in your Cargo Connect
If you wanted to
circle.
be a jerk, you could wait until the last
If
10
both
seconds to
teams
drop it,
have
but
separated their food packages
that
from
nobody
their
did
field's
that.
helicopters, a bonus is scored. The maximum score possible is 40 points for each team.
that was
Mission
probably my
9,
favorite
train
teamwork
tracks.
mission.
Lower the section of the train track and get the train to its destination.
Yeah.
If the train track is repaired so that it rests completely down to the west. If the train has reached its destination,
A very
and
simplistic
is
train,
latched at
one
the
could
end
say.
of the tracks. Mission 10, sorting center. Sort the containers.
This
leaving
was
the
a really
light
fun
orange
mission because
container in the sorting center.
you could decide what it was,
If
but
the
you couldn't
light
have
orange
it be the
container
same
is the
every
only
time.
container
And
remaining completely
you could
in the
score
blue sorting
good points
area
with the green and
box.
blue containers, so
Note,
that was a very smart
These
mission.
containers may also be used in other missions. Mission 11.
Amazon.
Home delivery. Deliver the package to its destination on the doorstep. If the package has been delivered and is on the doorstep partly, or if it is on the doorstep completely.
Yeah, that was... The door didn't
Mission
open.
12.
That was my only
Large delivery.
feedback.
Transport
Chicken!
the turbine blade to the blue holder, avoiding the chicken
Chicken.
statue. If the turbine blade is touching
That was
only
hard.
the blue holder and the mat, or if it is touching just the blue holder.
That was really hard.
If the chicken statue is upright with its base partly in its circle,
We named our chicken statue Henrietta.
or
Really
if it is
creative.
upright with its base completely in its circle.
Yeah, that's a beautiful chicken.
Mission 13, platooning trucks. Latch the
Yeah, these were
platooning
cool.
trucks together outside home, and also latch them to the bridge. If both platooning trucks are latched together completely outside home. If a platooning truck is latched to the bridge.
Yeah.
A bonus is scored
That was
when
cool.
both tasks are completed. Mission 14, bridge.
Oh yes, so for the
Lower
bridge,
the two
our-
bridge steps.
we had a
If
blue
one
flexible
bridge deck
noodle
has
piece
been
that came with
lowered
the
and
EV3
rests
core
on the
set,
center support.
and it would knock down the first one, and then
If
it would
both bridge
pass
decks
over
have
the
been
second
lowered
one,
and rest
and then
on
we
the
would
center
back up, and the blue tube would not knock down the second one, and that was
Mission
beautiful.
15, load cargo.
Oh boy,
Load
a lot of
cargo
complicated
containers
math.
onto the different forms of transportation. A maximum of 2 containers can score per form of transportation. If there are any containers loaded onto the platooning trucks.
I like how they show on the bottom 10 plus 10 equals 20, because
If there are
in
any
case you didn't
containers
know,
loaded onto the train.
yeah, the train is a good way to get a lot of points. But there's a better one. That
If
is
there are
the
any
ship.
containers loaded onto the west deck
Oh.
of the cargo ship.
It wobbled so much. It was a very, very wobbly mission. So if you were, a piece of advice: solve
Mission
the cargo
16.
or solve the
Cargo
train thing
connect.
before you
Deliver
solve
cargo containers to the circles.
the cargo ship part.
If there are any containers partly in any circle. If there are containers completely in any circle. If the blue, not hinged, container is completely in the blue circle.
Yeah, that was a good way to get a lot of points.
If the lime green container is completely in the green circle.
One of the craziest things I ever saw a
If
team
there are
do,
containers in
they
any
removed
circle.
the train from the tracks, put it in the lime green circle, and they
Mission
had the green
17,
container in the
precision
train.
tokens.
And it scored a lot
The
of
less
points,
you
of
interrupt
course.
your robot
So,
outside home,
yeah.
the more points you will keep.
This was the first
If
year
you
you got the
interrupt your
freebie
robot
token,
outside the
where
home area,
even if you
you will
rescued
lose
it,
a
you'd still
precision
have it.
token.
You'd still keep the points.
Precision tokens
Yeah.
left on the field will result in extra points.
Yeah.
Remember that
Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, which I assume you did because otherwise you wouldn't still be watching it, like, subscribe, spread the word. We hit 135 subscribers recently, which is a really random milestone, but I'm excited because I keep getting more subscribers. Good luck to your teams in the future. If you find a way to make a time machine and bring me to the next season, because I can't wait to see what it's going to be like after just looking back at all these previous mission videos. Please take me there. Thanks for watching.